Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Abdullah Patel English High School and Yati Junior College. Today we are going to start by our subject history, as we've already completed by half of the chapter, that is chapter number 10. Today we are going to start by third subtopic, that is non-alignment policy of India, that is SNAP. As we've already discussed about the World War, that in the First World War as well as in Second World War, our country, that is India, was having no important role to play, as we were not having any enemy with the other countries. But as Britishers were ruling on us, they just have taken our help financially and militarily. Okay, so after the Second World War, without joining either Soviet Russia allied group or America's allied group, India has adopted a policy of development by its own efforts, and it shaped its own strategies leading towards peace. That we want complete peace. We are on either of the Russia or nor of the Americans. We just want peace. We are not going to have any of the nations' side. This policy is known as NAM, what India has adopted, that is non-aligned movement. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. Sukarno, they're from Indonesia, Ikram from Ghana, Gamal Abdel Nasser, that's it from Egypt, and Marshal Tito, Yugoslavia, were the architect of the concept of NAM. Okay, so these countries were included over here who has signed the Treaty of NAM. Already I have explained you about NAM. What is NAM? That after Second World War, India adopted a policy of development by its own efforts and shaping its own strategies leading towards peace. This policy is known as NAM, that is non-aligned movement. NAM is more positive concept which is concerned with peace and progress. Main intention was of peace and progress. India always opposed imperialism and would not tolerate foreign intervention in its internal matters. India also emphasized the principle of live and let live and supported the independence of other nations like Indonesia and South Africa. So I hope you are cleared by NAM, that is non-aligned movement. Moving further to non-aligned nations who are not aligned over here. So the nation which adopted an independent foreign policy based on the concept of peaceful coexistence supports other nations in their independence struggle and does not involve themselves in the military agreement or bilateral treaty with the superpower is known as non-aligned nations. Non-aligned is a concept concerned more with progress and peace than war and poverty, so it's more positive. In 1961, a conference of non-aligned nations was called at Belgrade. Belgrade Conference was at the first summit of the non-aligned movement. Representatives of 25 countries were present for this conference. It was concluded with a declaration containing 27 columns. It consisted of several demands such as stop aggression in Asia, Africa, and South America, make Algeria and Angola free, withdraw French army from Tunisia, stop intervention in Congo, policy of racism in South Africa, stop give natural rights to Arabs in Palestine. So this were the demands of the non-aligned nation, that we have to stop all the things which is going on, as they had not signed any kind of pact like non-aligned policy. The next conference of non-aligned country was held in October 1964 at the Cairo, that is Egypt. Prime Minister of India, Lal Bahadur Shastri, attended this conference. At that time, we were having Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. Okay, this was the thirst of the conference was in preparing global awareness against forming groups of nations based on military concern and establishment of military bases in foreign countries. The third conference of the non-aligned nation was held in September 1970 at Lusaka, that is Zambia. In this conference, it was decided that non-aligned countries strengthen their unity, continue the policy of opposing military treaties, insist on equal status in international relations, and attempt to enhance disarmament. Besides, it was also resolved to end colonialism and racism, to put more emphasis on mutual cooperation, and to support the United Nations. The fourth conference of the non-aligned nation was held in 1973 at Algiers, that is Algeria. This conference put up some demands such as developing a new economic system and establishing a system of reporting international news. The fifth conference of the non-aligned nation was held in 1976 at Colombo, that is Sri Lanka. It was decided in this conference to try to create a new global economy by lessening the influence of the superpower in the field. The next conference, that is the sixth conference, were held in 1979 at Havana, that is Cuba. Cuba missile issue, I hope you remember, right? And in 1983 at New Delhi, the Palestine cause and the support for the independence struggle and southwestern Africa, now Namibia, was supported unanimously in the conference at New Delhi. So, uh, like every year there was a conference, and in each conference there some or the other issues were there and which were solved by the conference. The conference of non-aligned nation held at New Delhi was at seventh one. India's Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Now, when there was seventh conference, there was Prime Minister of India was Indira Gandhi. In her speech, this conference emphasized on freedom, development, disarmament, and peace. The main goal of the non-aligned movement was progress in the development of member nation. In the conference held in 1986 at Harare, that is Zimbabwe, a fund named Africa Fund was raised for providing necessary aid to neighboring nation of South Africa. The issue of Namibia, that is Southwest Africa freedom, and the racialism of South Africa were discussed in the conference held in 1992 at Jakarta, that is Indonesia. A demand for more facility in the field of commerce and trade, as also demand for the restructuring the United Nations were put up. So these were the things that in each and every conference there was some or the other issue. All the nations who have not aligned, they were having some or the other problems. Okay. Now starting by the next, that is 10.4, India's anti-colonial policy. Anti means against. Okay. Colonial means the people who ruled in India without our permission. The colonists. Who were they? British, French, Dutch. I hope you remember, we have already studied in our earlier chapter. So anti-colonial means India's against. Anti-colonial means anti-British, anti-Dutch, anti-French. Okay. So for them, what was the policy of India? So India is acknowledged as a great democracy in the world. It is protested against imperialism in the world politics even during pre-independence day. Soon after independence, India adopted the policy of active non-aligned in the international politics. It does not mean that India would distance itself from the vital international. Vital means important international issue. So it does not mean that India would distance itself from the vital international, that is important international issues, but it would always try to establish global peace. Means India always want that each and everywhere in the world there should be peace. India would not tolerate foreign intervention in its internal matters. Internal matters means no country should have any internal intervention in our country's own matters. As we have seen about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he was the only one person who thought that as the foreigners were the foreigners, okay, they were not from our country, so why they are interfering in our matters, why they are taking the decision, who are they to have give us the license in doing our own country, in our own country we are doing trade, but by their permission, why? We are Indians, we are from this land, so why we should take permission from there? So this kind of intervention of foreign intervention were not accepted by India. So India respect the regional unity and sovereignty of other countries too. India emphasis on the principle of live and let live, okay, which was supported by peaceful coexistence. So here are certain examples given to us which is worth citing in this regard. Now what happened in the post-independence period? Now talking about the post-independence period in the year 1949, a conference was held at Delhi. Over there, India has supported with support was with support was declared to the issue of Indonesia's independence. it was demanded that the Dutch should leave Indonesia. Okay, so before 1950, and it grant independence to it. So the position India took in that case of Africa is also very important. Took India a very strong initiative in demanding the independence of the ancient countries, especially the protectorates of European nations. India insisted that foreign ruler colonized European countries should leave the colony at the earliest. India also insisted that various institutions associated with the United Nations should expand their work fields and facilitate Africa to benefit by it. India spoke in the United Nations about the atrocious treatment meted out to the native Africans. Means not only India has dealt with its own country's problem, but also by the other country problem also. Okay, maybe it Asian countries, or maybe African countries. India talked each and every country's problem. Apart from its own, it talk about other problems also, as the India cared about Africa because of its long-standing relation with African countries. Thousands of Indians had migrated in search of work. Okay, they have worked in sugarcane plantation since very long. So in 1896, Indian workers had gone there to work on the Kenya-Uganda railway project. So Mahatma Gandhi over Africa has showed a path of satyagraha for getting independence. So every time, from starting to end, thus India had been on the forefront in the struggle against colonialism. India has proved as the helping hand to each and every country who has been depressed, who was having torture of colonists. Okay. Now starting by the next topic, that is South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, that is SAARC. Ziaur Rahman is the president of Bangladesh, has felt that he has to create an organization, and that organization will work for betterment of economic and social development in Asia, which need to be established. Okay. Accordingly, the first among the four meetings of the foreign secretaries of Bangladesh, India, Bhutan, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives and Nepal was convened in 1981 at Colombo. In this meeting, it was decided to work together. Means they planned. This the secretaries of the countries had decided they will work together for what? For economic and social development. Okay, they will work together for planning of regional cooperation, rural development, health, demographic issues, trade, etc. In 1983, the foreign minister of the above mentioned countries published the SAARC declaration in Delhi. In 1985, SAARC was established at the summit meeting held at Dhaka. The following are the objectives of SAARC as declared in the Dhaka conference. So they have a particular objectives also. Okay. It faced many challenges, however, it still was successful in various fields. SAPTA and SAFTA, SP, SAPTA and SAFTA were signed with a view to enhance mutual trade among Asian countries. Now, what is the objective of the SAARC? So, following it is, point number 1 is to cooperate for the rapid all-round development of the member nation. Who are the members? Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, Bangladesh and India. So they will cooperate each other, and for what? For the rapid and all-round development. Okay. Second is to oppose terrorism and smuggling of narcotics, means avoiding the drugs. To resolve problematic issues and create mutual understanding for mutual trust among nations, means they will trust each other. To cooperate with various organizations at regional, zonal and international level, working with similar objectives. And the last one was to work on international level by collective well-being, means their work will be at international level, not only it is to one own nation, but they will work hand in hand. So this was the objective of SAARC. As it was officially established in Dhaka with this objective in view, its Secretariat General was established at Kathmandu. It was decided that members should meet once annually, means yearly they will meet and they will decision what the problem will be, so that they will resolve the problem. Annual subscription was made mandatory, that is compulsory, for raising the salary fund of General Secretary. 7 directors and the staff. The duration of SAARC principal secretary posting was to be for 3 years, and every nation was to get the post their representative as principal secretary every year by rotation. Means every year there will be a new secretary general, and from each country will get a chance to become the secretary general of of SAARC, that is South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. The leaders of the South Asian ancient countries reaffirmed their commitment to the UN Charter and the principle governing sovereign equality of state, peaceful settlement of dispute, non-interference in the internal affairs, and non-use of threat of use of force against the territorial integrity and the political independence of other states. They reiterated that the United Nations constitute the most important forum for the resolution of all issues affecting international peace and security. Means their main motive was that they don't want to have any alignment with anybody. They don't want to participate in any kind of war or with any of the countries which cause destruction. They just want peace and security of their nation. They also reaffirmed their deep conviction in the continuity, validity, and the relevance of the objective of the non-aligned movement as an important force in international relation. As they were working in international level, so they decided that international level there is non-alignment movement policy also, and where we are not going to have any kind of discussion, or we are not going to take part in any kind of the decision taken by the other countries, non-aligned nations. Okay, so this was reaffirmed over here. Then next were the challenges for SAARC to tackle. Now what were the challenges? So the SAARC was laden with many difficult issues to tackle, such as economic disparity among the member nations, as they have recently First World War and Second World War they have seen. So there was economic disparity among the member nations. Expenditure allotment for defense, for security, inadequate infrastructure, undevelopment of agriculture sector, rising terrorism, population explosion, insufficient trade, divergent political system, religious, lingual diversity, means from each and everywhere. No corner was left unturned. No corner was there that this over here we are safest, or here we are getting profit. Each and everywhere there was only loss and loss. There was only hurdles in their way. They means they have to start from the start. Okay, they have not got any of the food spoon fitted. Now the success of SAARC. Now from they were having so much of challenges in front of us, but then too they got success. Now what was the success of the SAARC? Let's see. SAARC has done well in some of the fields mentioned above. For example, a center for dissemination of agro-related information, that is related to agriculture, was started in Bangladesh, and it has been also used as a platform for research related to seeds, animal husbandry, and fisheries. A SAARC Center for Meteorological Research was established in Dhaka. In Kathmandu, an orthopedic center was established. Means medically they were gaining up, they got success. Efforts are being made to promote tourism in SAARC countries, means to raise fund. How? So they had an idea that we will start tourism. So when people will come, they will spend over here. So by that we can have our economy strong. So they started tourism over here in their particular country. SAARC is also working for eliminating poverty in the countries in South Asia with the help of Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, that is ESCAPE. An intergovernmental group was established to formulate an agreement, that is SAFTA. Already I said you, South Asian Free Trade Area, for promoting free trade and economic cooperation among the SAARC nations. The SAARC Documentation Center was established at Delhi for dissemination of information. SAARC Human Resources Development Center was established at Islamabad, that is Pakistan. Agreement was signed to counter the smuggling of narcotic drugs. Committees were appointed for development in the field of postal services and transportation. Means each and everywhere, and all the nation who were the members of SAARC has given helping hand to each other. They have mutually kept understanding with each other. They have kept it trusted, and whatever they were doing, they were discussing with each other and have a positive result of SAARC. South Asian Preferential Trade Agreement, that is SAFTA, and South Asian Free Trade Area, that is SAFTA. Okay, with a view to enhance mutual trade among Asian countries, two treaties were signed, namely SAFTA in the year 1993 and SAFTA in the year 2004. Okay, so here our topic, that is part 5, sub part of our 10th chapter, is completed. SARC is completed. Now we are going to start by the 6th and the last topic, that is Commonwealth. Now what is Commonwealth? Commonwealth is a voluntary international organization of countries which were once a part of the British Empire and now a sovereign state. Sovereign means independent state. Its fundamental principle was voluntary cooperation, means willingly they have cooperated. It helped in giving momentum to anti-colonial movement in the colonies. India also became a member of the Commonwealth as an equal and sovereign state. Commonwealth Games were held at the Sportsman in the British colony, in which India has always been in the forefront. Means whenever there will be the game, India has already taken part in that. In 1917, Canada, Australia, South Africa and New Zealand were given autonomy as an integral state of British Empire. In 1931, England declared a policy of granting autonomy, that is the freedom, to all the colonies one by one. The British Parliament passed a statute known as Statute of Westminster. This statute approved formation of Commonwealth as a tradition would have it. The British Queen or King is installed at the head of this organization. What the organization they have made, those British Queen or King will be the head. The Secretariat of the Commonwealth was established at London. Voluntary cooperation is the fundamental principle of Commonwealth. Means voluntary, the nation will come over here voluntary basis. Nobody will have any kind of force. Nobody will be like you have to win only, you have to lose, we are the superior one. This was not there over here. There is free entry in the Commonwealth. Okay. After the Second World War, the British colony in Asia and Africa became independent. The Commonwealth deserved credit for it to some extent. Okay, only because of Commonwealth this thing could happen. The opposition to the British rule in the colonies and the altered international scenario made the disintegration of the British Empire inevitable. The establishment of the Commonwealth proved instrumental in giving momentum to anti-colonial movement in the colonies. Besides this, Commonwealth had to check the resentment with regard to granting freedom to the colonies that prevailed in some social strata in England. India's decision to remain in the Commonwealth even after independence added to nullification of that resentment. Commonwealth and India. In 1948, in the Congress session at Jaipur in Rajasthan, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru took the decision of joining Commonwealth. India became a member of Commonwealth as an equal and sovereign state, that is a free state. The factor leading to this decision were in the situation that prevailed then. At that time, England was the major supplier of arms and other defense material to India. England had granted some same facility to India with regards to foreign exchange. Indian exported goods were partially free from the custom duties. More importantly, India had an open platform at Commonwealth to counter the malpropaganda by the Pakistan against India. By considering all this thing, India became a member of Commonwealth. Means when while becoming a member, India has thought about everything, each and every aspect that India is gaining profit or loss over here, who are the enemies, who are the allies. Okay, each and everything India has considered, and then finally it decided to be a member of Commonwealth. Apart from this, India has always been on the forefront in Commonwealth Games. Always India has accepted the challenges and be a part in the games, Commonwealth Games. The sport competition modeled after Olympic competition used to be held for amateur sportsmen in the British colonies under the name British Empire Game. Earlier it was used to be like British Empire Games. The idea of such games was introduced by Reverend Astley Cooper. Since 1950, this competition came to be called as Commonwealth Game. Commonwealth Games were started at Crystal Palace to mark the coronation ceremony of King George V. Okay, So this Commonwealth game was just a sign of the coronation ceremony, as we were having coronation of Shivaji Maharaj over here in Maratha dynasty, Maratha Empire we have seen, okay, in Maharashtra. So over there in England there was a ceremony of King George Fifth, okay. So it was happened in Crystal Palace. So in his memory they have kept, to remember his ceremony, his coronation ceremony, they have kept started the game called as Commonwealth game, okay. The Commonwealth game of 1986 were of special significance, means special importance. 32 countries boycotted the games. Now what is the reason? As it has said that in the year 1986 were having special importance, but importance is like that 32 countries rejected of joining the game, they boycotted. Why? What is the reason behind the boycotting? So these countries demanded that South Africa should change their racist policy. This was the decision of these 232 countries. Only then they will join the Commonwealth. However, United Kingdom did not pay any heed, that is attention. Heed means attention. Any heed to this demand what was put forward by 32 countries. Hence, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, our India's Prime Minister at that time, declared a boycott. Now, in the 21st century, India has recorded a laudable performance in the Commonwealth game. In the two lessons that follows, we are going to learn about India as a country in the process of transformation. Here we have ended by the world challenges about the colonial rule. Now we are left by two chapters, that is chapter number 11 and chapter number 12, part 1 and part 2. So we are going to dealt with the transformation which came after the colonial rule, after the world wars, First World War and Second World War. What changes, what transformation has brought in India, we will see in two parts. Chapter number 11 part 1 and chapter number 12 is part 2, okay. So here I would like to end by our session. So stay at home, stay safe. Thank you so much for listening.